नमस्कार। आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत इंडिपेंडेंट रिसर्च एथिक्स सोसाइटी की आयुष समृद्धि ज्ञान गंगा के 2844वें पड़ाव पर आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत। मैं आदरणीय डॉक्टर सुपर्णा सान्याल मुखर्जी मैडम का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। मैं डॉक्टर शैकत कुमार बसु जी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं।
दूसरी स्टार्ट कर दी
वो
उन्होंने।
पहले से जुड़ेंगे हमारे साथ। तो अभी हमारा विषय है इस वेबिनार का ह्यूमन राइट्स। अभी हम आदरणीय डॉक्टर नरेंद्र शर्मा सर से सुन चुके हैं एनिमल राइट्स के विषय में। तो आज कैसा संयोग है इस दिन कि आज दोनों के राइट्स की बात है, ह्यूमन राइट्स और एनिमल राइट्स। मैं आदरणीय मैडम सुपर्णा सान्याल मुखर्जी मैडम को नमन करते हुए उन्हें सादा और हमारे साथ इस समय डॉक्टर नरेंद्र शर्मा जी, डॉक्टर सीपी शर्मा सर, डॉक्टर निशांत शुक्ला जी सभी जुड़े हुए हैं। मैं उनका हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। स्वागतम, सुस्वागतम। और डॉक्टर सुपर्णा सान्याल मुखर्जी मैडम को सादर आमंत्रित करता हूं उनके आशीर्वाद के। ह्यूमन राइट्स
शेखर
और हेल्थी लाइफ
शेखर जी प्रेजेंट है क्या?
है।
शेखर जी प्रेजेंट है क्या?
नहीं तो
शेखर जी प्रेजेंट है?
नहीं।
नहीं। अच्छा अच्छा। Then today is the Human Rights Day. So shall I start or shall I wait for few times?
प्लीज स्टार्ट मैडम।
Okay. Human Rights Day or Human Rights Week, whatever we can make it content. The human rights is a basic right for the human being. Those who are living in the society, human society, we needed the human rights, and human rights protect us and give us the more opportunity and the freedom of life. So I'm sharing the PPT. Let's see. Human rights. The first approach is the rights inherent to all the human beings, whatever our nationality, place of the residence, what is our gender, national or ethnic region, origination, color, caste, color, creed, religion, language, or any other status. We are all equally entitled to our human rights without discrimination. These rights are all interrelated, interdependent, and indivisible. Basically, who are the humans? Are we saying this human rights? The Greek term and body. So, study of the human being and right of the human being are interrelated. Because we humans, especially the Homo sapiens, are coming from the evolutionary trend. So, human rights is the basic rights, and human rights are the rights where we can protect ourselves, we restore ourselves, we give us the insight of our each and every activities in our life. And basic objectives of the human rights, why we are celebrating human rights, why we are practicing human rights, because the human rights is the assemble coordination, the congruent matter of the human life and human activities. Human rights is also giving us the association of the human kingdom. There is a proverb, Manush, humans, the Manush, those who have Man and Hush, that means the which we have the sensation, our cognitive sensation is very important for that. Then it has come the movement, how we can move. We have seen the plant kingdom, they can move. Animal kingdom always move, and they can run, they can change their places, they are motivated, and they are the movement oriented. And we have the religion. This religion is giving us the consciousness of the power, the god and goddesses, or the any kinds of gods, wherever we can go. If we can give the name of Allah, the God, the Ishai, whatever may be. So the religion is giving us the protection and restoration, and these are the backbone, because this religion has giving us the more power and potentiality. And the speech, the freedom of speech is a very basic objectives of the human rights, because there is so many animals in the animals kingdom, except human being no one can talk. So that's why the speech is the human property, speech is the human rights, speech is the human freedom. Then the information. There are so many informative ways we are passing through the you know sensation. We can passing through our speech orientation, we can passing through our sensation, our cognitive development orientation. Everywhere we can inform ourselves and share the information from one to another. Then the press, it is also a basic point of the human rights, just because whatever we are getting from the information from the press, so press is also very important for the human rights orientation. Then the thought, what is the thought? The thought is we have the inculcation, we have the orientation, we have the curiosity, we have the very particular aspects where we can share our knowledge with courage. So these are the thought orientation. If we cannot think of, if we don't have the thinking capacity, then we cannot do anything. So before doing any work, we have to think. That means we should maintain the pragmatism. At the same time, the education. So all these things are related with this education. So education is the stepping stone of the human behavior. Without the education, we cannot learn anything, we cannot share, we cannot gain anything, we cannot. Knowledge is the best courage, knowledge is the best weapon of us, because the today if we can learn, you can lead the world tomorrow. So this is the education, and this objective, all objectives are coagulated, and the orientation of the human rights where we are standing upon. So we can say that the 8 parameters are very important, and this 8 objectives is also depending upon this parameter orientation for the human rights. Who governs it? There are so many organizations. UNHRC is the main factor who are govern this the human rights, and here we have especially the Indian subcontinent human rights forum, human rights activities, human rights law act, everything is there. How it come into the action? Just because of this, the early Sanskrit writing in Indian, especially the responsibility of rules for the welfare of the people. So none should be the allow suffer either because of poverty or of any deliberate actions of the part of to the others. So we are especially the human beings form the society. So society, when we are form the society is depending upon the humans. That is the human society. When we are maintaining the human society, the social structure, socialization process, social behavior, social aspect, social law, socio cultural aspects, socio economic aspects, socio religion aspects, socio political aspects. Everything is depending upon this human right. The action is needed for this the human rights orientation. Then it is also the giving the, and there are so many sociologists like Emily Durkheim, Talcott Pearson, then the other sociologists, Max Weber, the armchair sociologists, they are also fostered this human rights for the development of the human being. And there is also the Greek philosopher, equal respect for the citizens. That's why it is a human rights. Because if it is a criminal, if someone has done the murder and in front of you, if he stand upon, so you have to treat him as a human first. Then whether the guilty has proved or not, so till such time you have to treat it in the human rights. And we have seen in cases of the life sentences, so they have the right to what their last wish they can perform it. So that's why the human rights is a fact and figures which can lead us for the development of life. So it is the come into action like the 1864 and in 1949 Geneva Conventions, the International Red Cross also celebrating these human rights. The 19th and 20th century human rights based on the natural, national rights, and this natural and national both are the same part of both the sides of a same coin. So 1919, the League of Nations Convent, the International Labour Organization, ILO, created this human rights, and they are also 1920. Women gained the right to the vote of the US, and the 1926 Slavery Convention, 1945 United Nations chartered the San Francisco, which has also giving the human rights, and they are also giving the privilege of the human rights. Then the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, just because of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, which was drafted by the UN Commission of the Human Rights, chaired by the first, then First Lady, and who has been fostered for the UN General Assembly on the December 10, 1948. So the 10th is the celebrated around the world as the International Human Rights Day on the basis of this, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, just because we are celebrating here the 10th December, the Human Rights Day. And what is the classification of the human rights? So CPR plus ESCR equal to INR. CPR, the civil and political rights. ESCR economic, social, and cultural rights equal to the human rights. So human rights cover the civil and political rights along with this economic, social, and cultural rights. There are so many factors which is also depending upon this human rights. The human rights is substantive rights, like there are seven factors which is very important. On the basis of this, the freedom, right of life, freedom from the culture, freedom of speech, freedom of living, freedom of right to celebrate yourself, right to share your sensation to your others, your friends, your relatives, and your parents, so whatever. So freedom of movement and the freedom of doing the business in your the territory, Indian territory, or the territory of your country. So you have the right to practice your business. Then the right to life, it is also the right to life. It is also the right to life is the essential right that a human being has the right not to be killed by the another human being. So this adoption or this adoption right is also depending upon, we cannot eat the human flesh. So this is the human rights also protect another human. So that's why the human rights is a right to protect the human being, and right to celebrate the human being, right to restore the human being with proper fashion and manner. So freedom from the especially the torches which has been used for the method political re-education and the integration, popularization. It is also the human rights fact and figures. And freedom from slavery. There was a slavery system which has been very dangerous. So human rights give us the freedom from the slavery. Right to a fair trial. That means we have seen the justice is blind. So whenever the justice has come, the human rights stood fast, just because law itself says that if anyone can uh, taking the section subsection of the laws, if any kinds of punishment or any criminal can get the relief from the sections on the basis of the sections subsections, and they can release it. Law has no matter, but law should always take care of the innocent. Those who are innocent, they should not get the punishment. So that is the human rights is also the trial, and human rights is the freedom of speech. Human right giving you the more potentiality, more the freedom of expressions, the freedom of, sometimes it is the spontaneous method, and freedom of thought, consciousness, and religion. So all religions are the same. All religions is giving you the freedom to preach the people, to make the understand the thought of the god or goddesses, or the freedom of speech and the protection of your illness. Your evil spirit should be stopped by the human rights, and human rights should get the first preference. And then freedom of movement, it is also very important part of the our life sustainability, because if we cannot move from one country to another country and one place to the another place, we cannot develop ourselves. So this is the main thing and main point of view of the human rights. And in case of the Irish Samriddhi, this is also under the human rights. That's because it is the time we are looking back with new legwears. Ayush was there, Ayush is there, and Ayush will be there. So when the ancient time period, when the Ayush was there, there is no other scope of the medicines, and there is no other scopes for the development of the human being or the medicational aspects. So Ayush, with the other system has developed, so Ayush has been deteriorated, and it is shaded. But now the situation which has happened after the 100 years, like the one calamity like the pandemic situation, we have reoriented and rejuvenate Ayush in our basic needs, because rejuvenation is very important part of the Ayush, and Ayush is giving us the more potentiality, the strength and factor, so which are also depending upon us. So that's why the human rights is also protected the Ayush, and Ayush are also protected the human kind. That's why the humankind is developing their health system and the medicinal orientation through the Ayush. Otherwise, it is not possible. The allopathic medicines which has been prepared, it is also the medicinal plants are responsible over here. So that's why we can say that the Ayush has the privilege to protect the human rights, and humankind should have the restoration process of the Ayush. So Ayush is needed for us. Was Ayush there? Is Ayush continuing and will be Ayush there? So that's why Ayush is the benefit to the benefactor. So that's why Ayush is the beneficiary potentiality of the humankind. So human rights is also depending upon the Ayush, and Ayush is also protect the human rights. Thank you very much for giving me such an opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Dr. Sakat Basuji. Dr.
Thank you.
Sakat ji,
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, Sharma ji. Thank you for inviting me to this particular online presentation. It's a pleasure to be a part of this platform. I can extend my gratitude to everyone on this platform for celebration of the World Human Rights Day. A very important part, Madam has very beautifully illustrated and you have very beautifully highlighted on the slides, implicating the various aspects of human rights and how they are connected with one another. I will do just some fill up the gaps to make it more comprehensive. So first of all, one of the important, like when we talk about human rights, we talk about rights of the people, but human rights extends just beyond that physical people. Human rights also extends to various communities that we do not always get the chance to highlight and discuss upon them. Which are these communities? Some of these communities include those such as like the tribal communities. The rights of the tribal communities or the aboriginal communities, as it is mentioned in the western countries, has been trampled. It has been historically, their lands have been taken away, their livelihoods have been replaced, their place of birth has been shifted, they have been restricted, and they have gone through several atrocities across South and Central America, across North America, across Asia, Africa, and various parts of many island countries where there used to be tribal population. They have been marginalized, sidelined, cheated, and many times their lands have been taken up. The home of other tribals have been taken up in many areas. And when it comes to rehabilitation, this rehabilitation has not been done very judiciously or nicely. And once even when they have been compensation packages provided for the tribal groups, they were not relevant to the trades and professions that they were trained to. So by changing tribals from forested areas into an industrial sector where there is agriculture and when there is places to work as an industrial labor, these helpless people had no idea how to work in these areas because they were never exposed to this. So while we are saying that we are rehabilitating them, we are actually violating their rights by taking away them from their forest homes and placing them into areas and environment in which they were never been exposed. The work, the food, the culture, the environment, the surroundings, the association and the collaborations they received were bare minimal, and even if they were sufficient, it was not very relevant to their indigenous values and faiths. That their own technology, their own religious practices, their own cultural heritages all got trampled. So I would say that it is sad to say that the tribal rights or the rights of the Aboriginal peoples around the world has been trampled across countries, irrespective of developing and developed countries, irrespective of Europe or Asia, irrespective of India or other countries. It has always been trampled. They have been sidelined. Their voice has been silenced. Their presence in the parliaments, Congress, or the senates has been minimized. And particularly in the underdeveloped countries or developing countries, their conditions are deplorable, but very, very bad. Poor healthcare, poor education facilities, lack of medical facilities, lack of connectivity with the local and regional governments, very little care being taken upon them. They were subjected to prostitution and various other illegal activities. Many of them moved into, turning into goons because there was nothing appropriate for their culture and in which they were trained and have grown up that were made available to them. So this is very sad that how these got impacted. So one is this tribal right where it has been trampled. The other part is the children's right, the child right. Now, this has been in Western countries. Now, children have rights. Like, for example, children going to the school, they have rights that you have to treat them in a specific way, which is very, very acceptable and humanitarian. That you cannot beat them, you cannot scold them, you cannot mistreat them, you cannot use words that goes against the caste, creed, culture, skin color, or any kind of discrimination. But over the time, this child rights, this children, cruelty prevention to the children has reached to such a complex phenomenon and a complex legal status in many Western countries that even in the schools, the teachers are not taking any responsibility in teaching the students to become disciplined because they are afraid that any time they will punish a student because of this huge pressure on the children rights and stuff and this not being very well understood, that you may become victim and you may be punished by the law itself for mistreating a children while your intention was not mistreating. And because of this overarching pressure of children rights, overarching pressure of not pushing them to an end, not giving them any pressure, what is happening is that it is getting quite difficult in many schools to control and contain the students. Students fight with one another. It's very common. Kids fight with one another. Previously, what if you see a kids fighting with one another, the teacher would intervene. They will try to discipline them. There will be a little bit of judicial punishment, that you write 100 pages or 100 lines of I should not do this in the class and things like that. Would not corporate punishment, by which means by beating them or something, or providing them, making them standing in uncomfortable positions, but there needs to be some kind of a rebuke for the young people to understand what is right and what is wrong. Our teachers have been empirical in teaching us this, maybe not in a very appropriate way, but these teaching is also important. What is happening in Western countries is, even the teacher observed that two students are fighting, they do not want to intervene. And what happens is this: these unsupervised students sometimes get into such bad fights, such bad bullying, that one of the students sometimes have committed suicide, or some other have taken their own lives, or may have stabbed or killed someone. In many cases in Western countries, you will see kids coming to the school and shooting indiscriminately. They have brought the father's gun and they are shooting at other students and stuff. In 80% of these cases, if you will investigate, you will find that this child was being bullied in the school. He was humiliated, he was mistreated, he was beaten up by other students. And this has created a fear, insecurity, and a helplessness in him or her that has pushed that individual to that particular extent. So, how much the child right should we look into? How much the child right should be, we need to understand where we are violating it and how we can integrate it together, so that we can create a better society, so that we do not have everything embroidered and covered with rules and regulation, so that the human value of teaching goes away. It's also a very serious part of the challenges that we are facing with respect to the human rights abuses. Third is the rights of the migrants. Now, as you could see, all over the world, people are undergoing migration. Sometimes they are persecuted in their country of origin, so they are trying to escape genocide, they are trying to escape killing, rapes, and other things, and they're moving into another country. Or the people, because of long time of economic unavailability and other economic challenges, are unable to survive in their country, and they're moving to other places as economic immigrants for better opportunities. When it was happening in small numbers, it was possible to accommodate in other countries, but when huge big populations are moving from one country to another, it becomes very difficult to accommodate in other countries, and it is leading to various crises, as you could see in Europe. But what about their rights? Like, can an individual, when he moves into another country, be looked upon as a criminal, or he or she has some rights? The Global Charter of Human Rights, United Nations, and the Constitution of most countries grant certain rights to these people, that you cannot be thrown away, that you would get a fair chance of standing your case, of asking for asylums and things like that. But with the complexity of the world, the economic depression and the challenges that we are facing, the pressure is pushing us towards disregarding their rights. As also, many people who have moved into other countries are not following the rules and tradition of that particular host country and culture, and trying to bring in their own culture and heritage from other countries. So are you not violating the rights of the people who are your host country? Or is it okay that we should live in a multi pot country where every religion respect, everything should be respected, and everyone's rights should be demarcated, and it should be respected and followed by law? These are very complex questions that we need to answer and think about. For example, when we talk about what about the prisoners' rights, one may think, one may very, very closely think that one has done a crime. Why should there be a right for that particular person? But we have to remember that we are talking about human rights, no matter he is a heinous criminal, but everyone has the right to certain privileges that as human we have to grant. So if their trial and process that he went were not fair, if the evidences that were collected against those individuals are not fair, this individual has the right to re-appeal his or her case to the nearest court or to the appeal board, and things like that. Many times there are organizations which help them, but many times their voices remain unheard. We have heard about across countries and culture and continents that how many innocent people have been thrown into jail for crimes that they have never committed. It is our within should be within our jurisdiction or within their jurisdiction to allow them to reappeal their case with in case of in the light of new evidences and stuff. Otherwise, they are actually innocent, but they are suffering, and because they are spending years in the jail without any trial. If you look into our Indian jails, how many people have served 4 hours, 5 years in the jail custody without even being given a sentence? So while at the end, when they are given a 10-year sentence, at least they say that 5 years you have already served in the jail, so that should be taken away. So all these are very complex questions. When we talk about human rights crisscrosses our consciousness, human rights crisscrosses our challenges of existence at this present moment of time. And with the crushing resources and increasing population and the clash of civilizations and cultures across the continents, human rights has become a very debatable topic and a very challenging topic. Various countries has various rules and regulations. Various countries has various in spite of the UN Charter of Human Rights, where the basic deeds of human rights are established, where we have a judiciary system within our constitutional framework, that rights get abused, people are misusing their rights, or those who deserve are not being given their rights. These are very important questions to discuss, bring it to the platform, and I leave it for our readers to also, as a food for thought, to think about the challenges of human rights. We talk about human rights very easily, but human rights to be established, human rights to be given to the people, and particularly to the vulnerable people who have been abused or has not been given the rights for such a long time, it is time to think about that how you define and redefine uh, human rights. And there was a point of when we were young, there were very little concept of human rights in our countries and origin, but it was always a Western origin concept. But now it has become a very strong factor that is being, seen, messed, and checked over in various arenas where we are talking about various important and engaging aspects of human rights. With this, I conclude my presentation and leave everyone to think about the challenges of human rights that we are facing across the world. Thank you, Professor Sharma. Once again, it has been a pleasure to be a part of your platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sakat Basu. You have really highlighted the loopholes. Definitely, these are the loopholes, and everybody not getting benefit of human rights. Please guide me, both of you. Tomorrow, what will be the topic of International Mountain Day? Please
Okay.
guide.
Okay.